Hello everybody and welcome back. We are at VeeamOn 2019 here in the very sunny, very humid Miami, Florida. But we are hanging out with Will and Tom, who are going to introduce themselves and talk a little bit more about what they do, because they can do it better than I can. Why don't you guys talk about why you're here, what brings you to Miami, and what's going on in your world?
Go ahead, Will.
I'm Will Bassage, CEO, Global Data Vault. We're here at VeeamOn 2019 to meet with customers and prospects, learn a lot about Veeam, hear what's new and interesting in the cloud data protection world. Tom has driven our technical development and our infrastructure as our CIO and can expand on that a little bit, I think.
Absolutely. It's always our problem. How many times have you worked with a vendor and found out they're basically saying, hey, it's not my fault, it's your fault. Figure this out. That does not work in the computing age. We really need to drive every aspect of backup and recovery, disaster recovery, to not be your problem, but to be our problem. So from quality metrics, making sure it works, delivering a real solution that helps you out in the emergency is what we drive, and making sure it's safe, secure, and we're not just buzzy and blingy, but we're making sure we deliver what we promise, and that is a full solution to get you through an emergency.
Can we talk about that solution here for a bit? How does your, just dive into the details of your solution. Are you on-prem, are you cloud, are you hybrid? How does this all play out?
We are everything when it comes to this. We are local protection, we're in the cloud as well. As trendy as it is to say that you're up in the cloud, it's a scary place to get back out of the cloud sometimes. So we really drive the solution to take care of you on that local site. So in the emergency, your customers never know that anything has happened. In a blink of an eye, we failed you over, and you have that continuity going locally. When you do need to come up to the cloud, it is 100% what you see every day, networked, just failed over, IOPS, all your technical needs are met up in our cloud, and your customers don't realize that they're running in an alternate location. Prior to that, what makes us successful is we're not just that box in the sky. We're going to make sure that your backups are working, they're quality, they can spin, you can do file level recovery, and we're going to provide free testing. That's the driver. You're only as good as your last test. And quarterly, we provide those to you with metrics reporting. Your auditors are happy, your check writers are happy, and you as a tech, you're happy because you know it works. You've seen it, you've tried it, you've used it.
That's quite the pitch. I'm ready to fail. Like it's that really is a big deal, because business continuity is what's going to separate you from your competitors. If your competitors are online and you're offline, well, they're going, the customer is going to go over there. So being that uptime is massively important. So how do you all then work with Veeam? What's the connection here?
Veeam is the engine to what we do. Over the years before Veeam, we had a lot of experience in the backup world, and we found that our methodologies and our intellectual property to get things done worked beautifully, but we never had a good solution that could actually do the backup and the spin up, and that's where Veeam has been a critical partner. They've just accelerated their ability to take something that is virtual or physical locally and get that backed up and protected in the local site and to the cloud. So Veeam is our engine, and their partnership has been so valuable to us.
That's exactly right. A word always for Veeam here. We've been in the disaster recovery as a service business space since before Veeam was a company, and so of course we've leveraged other technology besides Veeam prior to working with Veeam, but no one has ever brought us better technology or a smarter group of people or a more helpful group of people to work with than Veeam.
Gotcha. So then, when do you guys come into the equation? When does a small business reach out to the Global Data Vault and say, "Hey, come help me out"? Where in the the process flow? What's your ideal customer size? Who's your ideal client?
Businesses of all sizes reach out to us, and there is no one particular moment in time where someone will come to us for a solution. People are on it's a very broad spectrum that covers where people are on the maturity of their backup and recovery environments. So I think we take them on we take on customers that have sophisticated solutions in place and high-end needs, high expectations, and really demanding requirements to customers that are just new to this and just beginning to explore how to have a more resilient recovery environment.
And I think one of the key factors to us, we've been very specific with our architecture from sales to operations, in that once the sales team's engaged and presents that price, that's your final price. There's not going to be hidden professional service costs. From our smallest customer to our largest, they're white gloved at onset. They are met, they are audited. We make sure, even if they have services, like let's say they have a local backup Veeam in place, and they say, we just want to go to the cloud, our teams are going to work to make sure that that is efficient as possible to really just expand what they feel in the cloud. We really take care of the whole gamut, and our operations team, we really don't know the revenue factors, which is awesome. So they provide that same service to that small shop, to that huge enterprise, to deliver quality, because it's about quality all the time.
Right, and we do what we do. There's not a whole lot of tailoring of a solution to fit an individual customer. We have a solution that is well adapted to a very broad audience. Recently, I think we want to cover this. Recently, ransomware has become
big deal.
Has become an enormous threat. You know, nowadays you see how easy it is. Anyone with a Bitcoin account is potentially a threat. 10 years ago, there was a lot of writing in this space about the insider threat, and at that time the thought was an insider was a disgruntled employee or maybe a former employee that still had credentials. Today, what they call the insider threat now is not coming from insiders. It's outsiders who have gotten in. It's hackers who have gained access, and sometimes they will lay dormant inside the infrastructure for a very long time. You see this RDS services vulnerability that's just been released into the public domain from Microsoft RDS. Those are the kind of vulnerabilities that ransomware folks are exploiting, and the way they're doing it is they're getting into customers' backup environments, and not just Veeam, but other backup software providers. They're going through, and the first thing they do is they're looking for remote repositories, cloud repositories, and whatnot, because they know they can't get paid if those repositories are still there. So they've got to delete that data. So that's the first thing they do, and then they're encrypting the customer's primary data. So how Veeam has built a great solution called Insider Protection for this, but it's storage intensive, and Global Data Vault has applied its own R&D effort, and we have come up with a dedupe based solution to mitigate the significant storage increase that's required to provide that invisible extra copy in the cloud. So we think this is really something that everyone needs to be aware of, focused on, and working to address right now. Tom can tell us a little bit more about the details of how we implement this.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm going to piggyback off a little bit of what you said. When we talk about security and insider threat, now enough, these hackers are used to saying, hey, if I'm going to go after a Fortune 100, 500 company, I'm not going to penetrate their outer perimeter security. Instead, they're going to look to their partners to say, where are we going to penetrate? So
find the weakest link.
Exactly. Who is it? It's your backup provider. It's who you bank with. It's your legal firms. It's these other audiences. So at Global Data Vault, employing a full 24/7 SOC in place, we make sure that every endpoint is monitored to be as secure. Then, in our own history, we watched customers talk to us as they were coming to us to say, we had this cloud backup, it worked great, but we had a penetration point, and thanks to the cyber kill chain methodology, where we said, hey, if you are attacked, what's the first thing you do? You go back to your backups. So they've become smart enough to say our first target is penetration, second, burn those backups, third, burn the main environment, and that's what they do. So when Veeam talked about insider protection, we said, that's really savvy, that's great. And we kind of took the hood off of it and said, it's a great technology, but we think there's some flaws in it. Whereas Veeam will say, hey, get some more backups in there, get some full backups. That will protect you in case insider protection doesn't fully work. Well, that comes at a storage penalty and equally a storage cost. Then we looked and said, okay, if I'm taking these backups, I can't really afford to do it every day, every hour. It's too intense. Well, they came up in their insider protection and said, well, we're going to do this recover bin, sort of recycle bin methodology. We said that's really great as well. However, it requires some surgery to be effective. So we looked and said, from a customer perspective, one, every customer needs this.
Yep.
They have to have it. We have to be their advocate to say, we understand you need this. But we had to be sensitive to their cost as well. So coming up with the deduplication, we said that will drive it a little bit more on the cost side. So we believe with all of these factors, with our enhanced data protection, we're providing the ability to have multiple full chains of Veeam backups. From, just to geek it up a little bit, Veeam has 3 file driver types, a VBK full, VBI incremental, VBM metadata, and at any point you need all 3 to drive. Insider protection only gives you those changed files and requires surgery. Well,
Gotcha.
I'm not a doctor. Surgery fails.
Yep.
Enhanced data protection doesn't fail. What it does is it brings that full chain time and time, just snapping it and building it outside the reach of the hacker world, outside of the insider protection. It's walled off, it's secure, and it's full. All transparent and invisible, but equally we can recover it time and time again. And it's huge. You cannot run Veeam without enhanced data protection.
Wow. It's quite the pitch.
It is.
It's quite the pitch. But candidly, though, you're only as good as your data, right? And if you lose your data, you're screwed. And so I think in making that investment, making sure that you always have your data, especially as we grow, because data is only getting larger, it makes sense to make sure that that asset is extremely well protected.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, indeed. If people want to learn more about you and where to find you, what's the best place to do that?
Our website, globaldatavault.com, or just call us.
Just call us. And where are you located?
We're in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Wow. Well, everybody, thank you guys for hanging out with us today. You'll be able to find a link down below to their website on our video description. But I wanted to thank them for hanging out, and thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Petri Dish.